Thank you, Ms. Graham, and please convey our thanks to the President. Where else can you get a borough president who represents 2 million plus folks to give a proclamation, create a recognition day in Brooklyn? So we are delighted and honored. I will ask former Congressman Major Owens, and when you serve in elected office, you always carry your title no matter where you are. I was looking at CNN, and they had an interview and said, interview with President Bill Clinton. And you know, and when you're a judge, you never lose the title of judge. Of course, rebels never lose their titles. Elected officials never lose their title. And so I'm delighted that a person in the name of Congressman Major Owens did so much to fight for legislation to ensure that Medgar Evers College and other similar institutions in this nation would have access to close to $1 million on an annual basis into perpetuity. And it was this man who fought to make sure that Medgar would benefit from this. And there was a lot of pushback from a lot of folks because they thought that if Medgar and a few other institutions, in fact, Chicago State University in Chicago, were to join in this annual appropriation, that perhaps the pie would get smaller. But in fact, the matter is the pie got larger. And we're in federal legislation now, and we will be there forever. And it's because this man who fought when everybody else said, you don't do that. And he did. I won't tell you how many times I had to go to Washington to see him and to talk, but it happened. And it was because of him, his commitment to Medgar Evers College and minority education, black education in particular in this country. So we all owe an awful lot to Congressman Major Owens. And Congressman, would you please comment?
Thank you very much. Let me begin by saying that I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that we are here today to greet and to honor the Martin Luther King of Brazil. The Martin Luther King of Brazil. They've taken very different routes, and his route has taken him into the political arena. He's not a religious minister, he's a cabinet minister, probably one of the most 10 powerful people in Brazil. But Minister Santos started by leading demonstrations on the street against police brutality and other forms of discrimination for years. He was a city councilman and worked his way up. Now he's not yet at the promised land, but he's on a mountaintop. He's at the mountaintop. And you should reflect carefully on this, that his mountaintop is a mountaintop of a nation that's destined to become one of the most 10 economically powerful nations in the world in the next 10 years. Brazil. And we should also reflect on the fact that in this most powerful nation, the majority of the 173 or 174 million people are black. The majority. With leadership like the leadership of Minister Santos, that fact is going to become an explosive, dynamic kind of thing in the world arena very soon, I assure you. Minister Santos was a part of an unprecedented agreement, unprecedented and shocking to me, because it's an agreement between Condoleezza Rice and Minister Santos signed by them an agreement which I have a copy of here, a joint declaration to promote racial equality and to fight discrimination in both countries. Each country pledges to fight the other. Now, when has the United States ever pledged to fight discrimination anywhere? Yeah. And what other country in the world has come to our defense and said we will fight with you? So, during the years I was in Congress, I went to a seminar about 10 years ago in Brazil. I got very interested, and since then I've been following Brazil quite closely. And it's my great pleasure that Dr. Jackson asked me to join this effort to coordinate the signing of an agreement with the Medgar Evers College in Brazil, and one thing has led to another. But we should look forward to the fact that, unfortunately, the contact between Brazilians and Americans, the contact between black Brazilians and black Americans has been very small, very limited, very limited. We would like to see, beginning with the education, which is where it should begin, with more cooperation, exchange in the area of education, we build an alliance where their great economic power, our great political know-how, that's the things that we have to offer, will be united, and that we will go forward in this hemisphere and for the rest of the African diaspora and the rest of the world. Thank you very much.
I would like to recognize the President, Reverend Dr. Clarence Norman, Senior Pastor of First Baptist Church of Crown Heights. He's always been with us, so thank you for being with us. How many of you have been to Brazil? My, wonderful, wonderful. Sao Paulo, okay. As we move forward, the more of us will get an opportunity to go, because we will have the kind of contacts and to welcome us and all of us. And part of this agreement, when I'll move very quickly, is really talking about faculty and student exchange and collaboration. And we think this is a great thing. I would be remiss if I didn't ask another long-term friend and supporter of Medgar Evers, former Assemblyman Roger Green, if he would come and bring greetings.
You caught me by surprise. It must be because I work for him now, and I had to come up here. But again, as the Congressman said, many of us have read about the heroic exploits of the minister, the role that he's played not only in Brazil, but in the international arena in pushing for more equity, particularly as it relates to the challenges of globalization and how it's impacting on people of color throughout the entire planet. And I think it's appropriate that he's here, as we see that he has already forced a paradigm shift in Brazil, and hopefully in November, you'll see a paradigm shift here in this country. The anticipation that what Garvey talked about, what Du Bois talked about, really the formulation of real Pan-Africanism that is not just based upon intellectual capital, but real capital. What Brazil represents as an emerging market, one of the most wealthiest markets on the planet, which now the United States is dependent upon, which is probably why Condoleezza Rice signed that for. You know, when you see what happened here over the past few weeks in the United States economy, with someone declaring the end of capitalism, it becomes very clear that those people like the minister are now in a position to forge a new kind of economic vision for this entire planet. And so as he emerges, and hopefully we emerge in November, we look forward to the kind of solidarity that our ancestors envisioned having been brought from Africa, we're now being brought back together. So we want to congratulate you and we thank you for being in our presence. Thank you.